My name is Kingsley Ettienne. I'm from St. David's, a little village called Corinth, otherwise called Union Village. I was brought up here as a kid and moved on to a lot of other areas. I was brought up in church, a little church in Corinth called the Gospel Hall. That's where I started my musical career as a singer. Had competitions and stuff like that in Sunday school and stuff like that on Sundays with a preacher called Haken Simon. And I evoluted to a lot of other areas. After that, I started playing around with a guy called Joseph Litt from Dudma. His father's name was Trappers. He used to play violin. I used to hang around with him, and he used to be around Chateau. Joe Chateau used to be in Wester Hall. Actually, before he went to Wester Hall, he was overseeing Corinth Estate. And Juliet used to come around with a guitar and play around in christenings and stuff like that, and I used to hang with him. I always loved the guitar. That's long before I started playing keyboards. And that's when my musical career started. Oh, the primary school life. I went to St. Peter's. That's on the rocks in Corinth. That was very exciting. While I was in St. Peter's, I met this teacher, Anthony Lucky Bernard. He actually shaped my career. He was a musician, he was a priest, he was an acolyte, he was an artist, he was a poet, he was a preacher, he was everything you could think about. Music, and he actually shaped my life before I went to secondary school. So that's how I really started before I went to secondary school. My musical life started there with Lucky Bernard. After that, I went to Grenada Boys Secondary School and met a lot of musicians in there, like Jerry Seals, Robin Seals, and a bunch of other musicians I met in there. And I started singing actually after that, and I went to this teacher called Miss Steele when I was going to high school. And she, when you go to high school and the teacher would ask you, well, we're looking for boys for the choir. And I went in and she told me I couldn't sing. So, that played a real bad impact on me, but that didn't stop me or deter me from singing. So I went back one day and I told her, something, Miss Steele, here, my name is Kingsley Ettienne and I'm still singing. She said she can't remember me. But anyway, that's how I started. And after I left high school, I used to always hang around the bands in town, like Angel Harps and stuff like that. But you know something? Along the way, Chateau was the greatest influence in my life. While Chateau was overseeing Corinth Estate, there were guys like Checker and all these other guys that you will know about that were playing non-electric bass. Then it was the big upright bass. And I used to hang around there, and after Chateau left there, he went to Wester Hall Estate. I started to follow him too, and then Chateau one day said, man, look, you want to play? I'd show you how to. He had a piano in his house. And myself and a guy called Godwin Pierre had a singing group together. And we used to sing and go for competitions and stuff like that. And we used to go to Chateau for tuition, singing tuition, you know what I mean, for harmony and stuff like that. And Chateau heard me one day and he said, man, you want to play? He said, okay, well, I'll show you how to play. And Chateau started showing me how to play. And that's what caused me to play up to date. Now, I'll tell you what Chateau did for me. Chateau had instruments. He had a big band called Velvet Tones. Chateau gave me a tenor saxophone, he gave me an alto saxophone, he gave me a big bass to play. I used to take his guitar and go home with, although my mother didn't like it because she didn't like me playing music, because she wanted me to play music for the church. And I'm playing, my uncle had a Janet house, so I used to play there every single day, from high school, from home, straight to the Janet house, started playing. Then Gordon Pierre had a Steelman band, and I ended up being the leader of the band too, so my hands were filled. So you know what happened? After playing, my mother didn't want me to play so bad. She fed pigs in the bass so that I could stop playing. She fed pigs in the bass, the big double bass. And you know something, that really got me, but it didn't stop me. You know, and Shadows still continued tutoring me and stuff like that. And I started playing with other bands. I left Shadow's band and went to other bands, came back. And after that, I went to play with some cats in town in the city. Them guys called, what was the name of these guys? With Ali Telfer and Terry Blackburn, the Cardinals. In those days, the music was, you know, raging in this, you know, all kinds of bands around and stuff like that. The Cardinals and Low Sounds and stuff like that. And that's what made me be what I am today. From there, I left high school and I had a job at the bank, NCB. No, not NCB, CIBC. And after I left CIBC, I went to work at Wibbs. So when I went to work at Wibbs, I had access to the whole music library. So I was back again into music, although I was working in the engineering department. So I still had access to the music library. And from then, I got a scholarship to go to Toronto to study engineering at Radio College of Canada. And I didn't really want to do it, but then some other cats asked me to come up to play music. So I had two options, and I went for both of them. And that's what got me out of Toronto, out of Grenada. I've been out of Grenada for 42 years. Before I entered Canada, I had one of the, I was very, very lucky. I was very lucky. I had one of the greatest workers. He was the chief engineer of Wibbs. He was a great man. I was very fortunate to meet great people. His name was Ray Smith. He encouraged me, he helped me, he was my mentor, and you know, he gave me all the encouragement I need to leave the country. And he persuaded me that when I get back I could have my job. And when I went out there, I just, you know, went out there. It was pretty rough. It was very rough for the first 2-3 years, but I went through it. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I remember that. I went to RCC for a year and a half. I didn't like what I was doing. Then I went to York University to study music. I didn't like what I was doing. And I spent about 2.5 years in York University. I did not graduate. I went back to UFT because that's where I first started. And then I went on the road. And when I went on the road, I went to every province in Canada playing. The north, the south, the east, way up in the Yukon, far west as far as Vancouver, far east as far as Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Labrador, everywhere you could think about. And I saw the reception of what the people really wanted, how the reception was when I played, and then I knew that where I belonged, and I stayed there. I had lots of great professors teaching, but you know something? Teaching, look, music started first of all with airs. And if you don't have good airs, I don't care how much teaching that you get, you're still not a musician. Musicians are born, not made. Most of the technicality of the music, like let's say classical players, they just playing one person's music, like Beethoven or Tchaikovsky is one person's music that you play, and you have to learn to read to do that. There is no exception to that rule. Now when you play music, you don't have to read to play music. It's a natural talent. And that's what most of the, I would say, most of the white cats that I've played with don't have, because they were brought up playing from reading that they don't have any airs. And that's why most of the greatest musicians I've met in my life were air musicians. And some of the greatest musicians I've met in Grenada were air musicians, which includes Chateau. Chateau did both though, but he had better air. I met lots of cats like Lester Boyd. These guys were air musicians that were very, very excellent and couldn't even read a note. But they had airs bigger than donkey's ears. Now that's a musician. Musicians are born, not made. But there are good followers that follow leaders that end up to be great musicians. But it's a matter of time. And It's a development. It's a school. It's a school. It's camaraderie. And, you know, that's what, the greatest musicians in the world, Oscar Peterson, he didn't go to no school. His sister taught him. One of the greatest pianists in the world. One of the greatest saxophonists in the world, John Coltrane, Charlie Parker. They had no university training. Ben Webster's, all the cats in the South. It was camaraderie and music from the streets. The music is belonging to people. Anytime you delete people, you have no music. I'm proud to say that I'm still healthy. God has blessed me in many ways. My success, I am not extremely wealthy, but I have enough to go on to live with, and I am proud of what I have achieved. I'm very proud of that, and seeing that I've been around so many musicians that have not achieved everything, but they played a lot of great people, but they have not achieved anything because they spent all the money on whatever it is and whatever it is. They had a great time. But I had a great time, but I still have a little bit left that I could come to Grenada and enjoy. You know, I still have a bit in Toronto or wherever it is that I could still enjoy. So I have achieved a lot. And my achievement came from people, networking with people. Like I played a lot in the United States, North and South America, Europe, the Middle East, Far East, and you name it, I could. You know, I've played. I've been very fortunate. Still doing it because, you know, my health is still okay, but I'm still looking for that hit. I am still looking for that hit, that one hit. But I'm not greedy. If it don't happen, I'm very contented where I am with myself. I'm very known in Canada for more than one reason. I am playing a very unique instrument. It's called the Hammond B3. Very few people in this world play that instrument. And I am one of the people, or the persons that stay alive playing that instrument. I was very lucky to play with all these cats like Jimmy Smith, Jack McDuff, Jimmy McGriff, Big Burner, Charles Erland. I've been all over the world playing with these guys, and I've been very fortunate to do it because I'm the only one remaining in Canada doing this. I am the only one. I mean, there are lots of other cats, but not compared. And you heard that. Can't compare. Not being boastful, not being cocky, but being very confident. I have one at my house in Grenada. I have one right here. No one in the Caribbean plays that piece of equipment. They got one in Jamaica. They got two in Jamaica. Baron Lee had one. I'm still there. And there's another guy have another one in there. Oh, Sonny Bradshaw got one. And the Ministry of Tourism got one. So there's three in Jamaica. There's three in Jamaica. Trinidad don't have any because I brought mine to Trinidad for the festival. Grand Cayman don't have any. I brought mine to Jamaica. I mean, not Jamaica. Aruba, Curacao, Trinidad, Margarita. I brought mine over there. But Grenada don't have one. I've got one here. The uniqueness about that instrument is it's got drawbars. It's got wind. It's got actually this set is the first synthesizer being made. I don't know what true it is, but I think it's right. You gotta play with your feet, you gotta play with your hands, you gotta play with your head, you gotta play with your heart, you gotta have movement, you gotta be in total shape to play that instrument. It requires and it demands a lot out of you. I'll be honest with you, I had some of the best vocal tutors in the world. Theodore Gentry, I could call a lot of names. I've met a lot of great vocalists in my life. I played side to side with Ray Charles. I opened up for Donny Hathaway, not Donny Hathaway, I opened up for Stanley Turrentine, Freddie Hubbard, a lot of people I've opened up for. And I had the pleasure of meeting Nat King Cole's brother, Freddie Cole. So I've been around a lot of great singers in my life and piano players. That's what I said, I'm very, very lucky. Vocally, I practice for about 2 hours a day. Maybe 3. 2 hours just doing technique stuff, and maybe an hour doing just practical stuff like learning tunes, like melodies or maybe words, and stuff like that. Now, from pianistically, I do about 5-6 hours a day. So altogether, I do about 8 hours a day. Sometimes 12, sometimes 10. That's how I feel. Every day.
8 hours, 5 hours as a musician?
Well, first of all, you have to have that burning desire. A lot of people get distracted and they just practice for 30 minutes or 20 minutes because they don't have that burning desire. I could practice one phrase if I don't get it right for 2 hours until I get it right. But I have to get it right because the demands are not small. Because when you get out there in the deep, which a lot of people are scared to get in the deep because we got sharks out there, we got piranhas out there. When you get in the deep and you got management and agencies and you're not getting write-ups, you're not getting callbacks, they can't book you back, you know what's going to happen to you? You're out. And there's always somebody to replace you right there. So you have to be on top. You got to clean your act up. You got to be on top of things. So while you're asleep, somebody else is practicing. It's always like that, man. You know? I've got about maybe 6 or 7 albums. Plus I got other albums I've did with collaboration with other people like Eddie Bullen. I had one I did with him called The Alvin Grinder. And I did one with that Ahmad Jamal did help me produce with Ramsey Lewis. Plus I had another one that Joe Williams did, Here's to Life. I did another track on that. And I have about 7 or 8 CDs. You know, my first one was called Stepping Out. My last one is More Today Than Yesterday. Yeah, than yesterday. But I have a new one coming out now. And I can't tell you what it is. It's an all-vocal album. It's an all-vocal album. It's going to be outrageous. I can't tell you. It's a secret. Yes, I was a singer. I used to sing in church for years at the Corinth Gospel Hall. I sang there for years, competing with my sister Carmen. And, you know, and then your mother used to sing. She had a very high voice. And besides your mom, she had another aunt that used to sing called Mrs. Bonaparte. I can't remember her name. Anyway, her mom and your mom used to always have competition. And I learned a lot from that. Well, the difference is my personality. One's personality brings out the music and my personality. I have a very bubbly, effervescent personality. Bubbly, you know what I'm saying? And I try to make my music the same way, interesting, vocally or instrumentally. Yes, that is International Archives for Jazz. It's a European site that gets all the greatest jazz players in the country or in the world. So they list them and they book them and they sell their CDs and they book them all over the world. My first CD was on Sony. The next one was on Sony Warner Brothers. But right now I'm doing Warner Brothers again. That's my last CDs on Warner Brothers right now. Perform, okay, far east, let's say first in the Middle East, like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, number 1. The Greek islands, Santorini, Canary Islands, North Africa like Algiers, Tangiers, Gibraltar, Casablanca, Naples, Sicily. I'm not talking about even Italy yet. I'm just talking just around the Mediterranean. Now, North and South America, especially the U.S., all over the U.S., especially the West, which is California, Northern California, Santa Barbara. I've toured the world and the 7 seas except Antarctica or Europa. And you know what Europa is? Okay, I've never been there. I'd like to. If given a chance. I don't know what I'd meet, but it might be the unexpected. I love the unexpected. I teach on my spare days. I teach sometimes at Humber College. I do teach. Before I got here, I had a week and a half of the kids that were on reading week and March break and stuff like that. So they were crowding me. I do a lot of teaching there. I'm not known in Grenada. I might be known in the city, but not in the country parts. Listen, in St. Lucia, in the jazz festival. When the musicians play in St. Lucia, they bring the musicians, like all the kids from, let's say from 2 or from 3, 4, 5, they get into the Derek Walcott Square in St. Lucia, and they all got the front seat in St. Lucia. Now, that's the mainstream jazz. St. Lucia also takes the jazz musicians that play reggae jazz, calypso jazz, and take them into the country. To take them into the country like Banabush, those areas like that, and feed them with that. So when they get enough of that, they bring them to the city and hear the real swing jazz. Grenada don't do that. Grenada take the jazz to the upper class section where they pay $80 a night, $100, where the other people in Grenville can afford, and they put the jazz in the city. That is wrong. Jazz was not made for the upper class. Jazz wasn't born in the upper class. Jazz was taken to the upper class. Jazz is best played in clubs or any music. So when you take it to the upper class and you make it upper class, it's non-affordable for the people in the country. They're not going to come down, but if you take something that they could afford and they could respond to, like calypso jazz, they could dance to it, or reggae jazz, they would come and support it. Give them and feed them what they want, and they'd be part of what, of the jazz society or the festival. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of people still think that I can't play calypso, I can't play jazz, I can't play reggae because they think I could only play jazz only. No, I'm a musician, but I play black music. Black music is not only calypso. Calypso and reggae is black, Caribbean, blues. That's the blues in the Caribbean, but blues is black music. Blues came from the South, it came from New Orleans. That's what the music was born before it went to Americas. Congo Square. So it went from the South, Alabama, Mississippi. That's where Nat King Cole and all those guys came from, All the greatest voices and musicians in the world came from New Orleans, came from the South. Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, Nat King Cole. And they branched off to the North, and they branch off wherever it is. A lot of people don't know that. But blues, jazz, that's black music. Calypso is black music. Latin mixed with whatever it is. If you go to Uganda, if you go to Accra, and you go to places like, not even Zimbabwe, you go to Algiers, Tangiers, or south of Yemen, and you hear these people play Latin music mixed with calypso, you die. And you see where calypso came from. You see where Latin music came from. You see where blues guitar came from.